pumped up today. It is never too early to start talking about the Super Bowl. Welcome in to Early Edge Live, our NFL mega early Super Bowl preview right here. SportsLine, Early Edge. Oh, SportsLine, by the way, the best value in all sports betting. It's not close. I am Coach, and I got to tell you, over the course of the next, 12 days, we're going to get you set, ready, sides, totals, props across the board. Do me one favor if you don't mind. Just like the bosses say and Kelsey says in the chat, hit that like button for me just one time. Take the chat down, hit the like button, put it right back up, and then commence to talking about amongst yourselves as we dive in head first. So if it's a Super Bowl, we've been here all year. I'm bringing in the heavy hitters and an added bonus for all of you this week. Let's show the superstars of the show. And look at this, 5 wide. 5 wide? How about we welcome in our special guest on our Tuesday show? First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, live from parts unknown, is it truly PropStarz on a Tuesday? What's up, man?
Live in the flesh. It's me, Coach. Thank you for having me. It is an honor to be on this show. I watch this show every Tuesday. I often participate in the chat, so I am so excited to be here.
Boom. We couldn't do this without you. No doubt about it. Now, live from Nashville, Tennessee, the Pit House level. M Squared, what's good?
Good afternoon, Coach. Good to see everybody here. Can't wait for this Super Bowl matchup. Obviously, heartbroken it is not our Kansas City Chiefs in the game. Really wanted to see them play the Rams, but very excited to see Joe Burrow against this pass rush.
Severely disappointed if you are a Chiefs fan, if you're a 49ers fan. But the nice thing about what we get to do is that you can separate yourself, and we still get to be a part of the Super Bowl regardless, which is awesome. Now, he is our NFL everything. You read him all the time at SportsLine. He is the guy. RJ White, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm glad we have Alex here. Just want to promote, I know it's an NFL show, but I want to promote Alex has his NBA props articles that started this week at SportsLine. He's going to put out some props every Monday for NBA. So be sure to be on the lookout for that if you like making money by betting on props, because he is the man when it comes to that kind of stuff.
He is the absolute man. Now, the man within our brand is the final man that I am introducing here this afternoon. He's been here since day one, and will be joining me live in Los Angeles all next week. Maestro, good afternoon.
Well, Coach, it's great to be here. And the very first thing I said about this Super Bowl matchup was dead wrong. That was Monday, and I saw the line going from 4.5 down to 4 and from 3.5 up to 4, and I thought we were going to lock in at 4, but it's very interesting that we're seeing a ton of 4.5s across the market. So the Rams money, early money coming in.
Yeah, we're going to talk about why that is. We're going to talk about where the number started at. Where do we think it's going to end? We'll talk totals. We'll also hit some props, because the beautiful thing about the Super Bowl, gentlemen, is that the props come out very, very early, so we can really get ahead of the game. Don't forget, next week I mentioned we're going to be live in Los Angeles. We don't know our entire schedule yet. Follow us at SportsLine or any of us, and we'll retweet whenever we get that schedule. If you're going to be in the LA area, come over and say hi. We would love to meet you. The Maestro loves taking pictures with the fans. There's nothing he likes doing more. Me, not so much. All right, let's jump right in. We're going to do our best bets at the end of the show since we're still 2 weeks out. But I want to jump in and start talking about the line first. RJ, I want to start with you. When it opened, because we're looking at -4 and the total is 50. Did you think it was appropriate, or the fact that so many people jumped on the Rams was a little bit too low?
Yeah, at first glance, it seemed a little high. I mean, the Bengals are playing well. It's a neutral site game. I know technically the Rams are at home, but you don't get a home crowd in these Super Bowls. It's not a bunch of Rams fans packing these stands, or, massive amount, money for these tickets, corporate sponsors, all these boxes sold. It's a different environment. It's not really a home game like we saw last week. And even then, they had 49ers fans flooding the stands. So it's interesting to have a 4-point spread in a game like that, because the Rams were a 4 seed as well. It's not like they were taking the league by storm. This isn't the Packers. This isn't the Chiefs. So for them to be 4 points in this game was kind of interesting. And I started thinking about, the matchups and where is Cincinnati going to win this game? And it just seems the Rams, I'm looking at this game, seeing the defensive line can dominate that offensive line. Stafford's playing well. So I wanted to get in on it at 4 early because I thought it could move up. And I don't think it's going to get anywhere near 6 or anything like that. But this seems to be a type of Super Bowl where people are going to want to be on the Rams, because they think since he's kind of in over their head at this point, they're winning, they're playing well, they're beating some teams they maybe shouldn't, but they might not have the profile of a Super Bowl winning type team.
You know, Mikey, RJ brings up a really, really good point. I don't know that Joe Burrow will be able to outrun Aaron Donald like he did Chris Jones, like he did a couple of other guys that would have stopped them on third down and that continued those drives. Do you have concern that the offensive line will not be able to hold up over the course of 60 minutes? Yeah, your mic's not working, Mikey. Your mic's not working. Darn it. I know that's been an issue. I apologize, Mike. We just can't hear you, bud. Just can't hear you. Maestro, let me come to you as we try to get that fixed quickly. I know it's been a wire issue. I'll ask you the same question. Do you have a concern that Joe Burrow won't be able to do with the Rams what he was able to do with the Chiefs?
I definitely have that concern. I mean, you look at the battle in the trenches, and it should be a mismatch. The Rams' #1 pass rush, Cincinnati 30th in pass block win rate. The Rams also have a great pass blocking offensive line, and the Bengals shouldn't get much pressure if you look at all the metrics from the full season. I also should note that the Rams starting nose tackle for the first half of the season has been designated to return. He might be able to play along with Darrell Henderson, but I think that would be a huge get if he can come back. But I should point out the underdog has really been the play in the Super Bowl. Last 20 years, looking at this, 7-13. The underdog is, the favorites are 7-13 against the number. And then if you go back further, favorites of this much, over 3.5 points, 7-13-2 against the number. And that's all the way back to 1990.
Wow. That really makes you start to think a lot of different things. And I don't know which way we should go, but those are great numbers. Alex, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very concerned about this Rams pass rush as far as Cincinnati's offensive line, especially the interior of their offensive line. You've got Aaron Donald, in my opinion, the best player in football, just absolute game wrecker. This is why you bring in Von Millers to make a big impact in this game. I think he's going to have a significant presence. Furthermore, you've got Leonard Floyd. This is a very, very deep, stacked pass rush. I think we saw in the semifinal match against Tennessee what this line looked like against a very deep defensive line. We saw Danico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry just wreak havoc. I think this Rams team is even better than that, so I expect it to have a very big impact on the Super Bowl.
So let me ask you this. Let me try you one more time, Mikey. Do you think we're working now? Let's try it, please.
We'll see. I think so, but
okay, we got it. All right, I'll let you weigh in, and then I got to come back to Alex with a question from the chat.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely worried about the mismatch here. There's the thing I look for when I look at a game after running the sims and really before I run them. I look for where the obvious mismatch is, and it's the defensive line versus that offensive line. It's by far the biggest mismatch in the game. That's concerning for me. I had the same concerns against Kansas City. Joe Burrow managed to escape. We talked about him not really being able to scramble and run much. He proved us wrong in that game. He had a few really, really impressive scrambles and runs, keeping drives alive. He's going to have to do a lot of that in this particular game. I think having CJ Uzomah out definitely hurts him. But as far as where I make the game, minus 4.1 is my number, 47.5. We've seen this total come down. I know a lot of people think it's crazy. I bet the under in the Kansas City-Cincinnati game last week as well. Same thing here. It just opened a little bit too high. The perception is these teams put up yards, they put up points. Going to be a lot of scoring, and there will be. Over 47 is still a lot of points in the NFL. But it's nice to see the market reacting and moving that a little bit closer to my number as this total's dropped to 48.5 most places. But to answer the question, I'm very worried about the offensive versus defensive line. They've been trying their best and they've done an okay job. Burrow's just been masterful so far. And now they're up against probably the best pass rush in the league.
It's great analysis by you right there. And I think to your point about the under, that we've seen that in the playoffs, the first halves are really, really going, and then the teams they start to try to outthink each other, and then they get very, very conservative, and then there's no points come the fourth quarter. We've seen that almost across the board to back up your underplay. So if this game script and the defense is going to play for the Rams the way they are, then Joe Mixon might be a nice little option. So, Alex, let me come back to you. In the chat, they said maybe over 29.5 receiving yards would be a nice play if Burrow's going to look to check down when Aaron Donald and Von Miller and that entire pass rush is coming up the middle. Is Mixon a guy? I know we're going to get to our picks a little bit later, but is he a guy that you're targeting that could have a big game coming out of the backfield, catching and potentially running?
Personally, I don't think so. He actually was running less routes over the last 2 weeks, despite his receiving yards being up. I know last week he missed the receiving prop. He was held under. I think he had finished with 24 receiving yards the week prior. I believe he had 50. But in that game, he ceded a lot of touches and routes to Samaje Perine. So for as effective he's been just highly, highly efficient. And it's hard to count on the targets when he's not running nearly as many routes as he was in previous weeks. So I actually am looking to potentially fade Mixon this week. I think he's going to be ineffective running the ball, and I just don't think the role and the targets are going to be there in the passing game. So I am looking the other way as far as Mixon is concerned.
All right, very, very good. We got a chat question. I'm going to come into RJ and then Maestro. I want you to piggyback, please. Do you think that the Joe Burrow hype has influences the line? Excuse me, RJ.
I don't think so. I think if the hype was being taken into account, we see a lot lower line. I believe before those games kicked off, the championship games, that the Rams were supposed to be 2.5 or 3.5 or something against the Bengals. If it got there, we weren't expecting as big a line, and then now it's at 4. So how he wins that game, and probably how much are you buying into the hype if the line's going up, as we see it move to 4.5? So I don't think there's that much influence into his hype. I think that if he gets a Super Bowl week next week, and the media is talking all about it, and people are talking about all the great things ahead for Burrow. I know our Pete Prisco on the Pick Six podcast said that on draft day that he thought Burrow was going to win at least one Super Bowl in his first 10 seasons. So we can knock that out, 2 years in, be pretty impressive. But as people start talking about Burrow next week, maybe that's when the hype starts building. People want to get in on the Burrow train. They start betting the money line instead of the plus, so the line might not move, but when we might see money come in on the money line and swing those a little bit. So if you do like the Rams and you don't want to lay the 4, maybe wait closer to kickoff. You might be wanting to lay the money line because you're going to get a little more value on that play than you typically would.
Yeah, I agree. That money line on the Rams is going to come down because as it gets closer to kickoff, a lot of Bengals people are just going to bet the money line straight. And you're right. It was 3.5 before the championship games. That was the number for the Rams. And now we're seeing 4.5. So as great as Joe Burrow is, people are just thinking that this matchup is not conducive to him. And I also should point out the Bengals are +5 in turnover margin in the playoffs, and the Rams are dead even. And you can say they're opportunistic. They certainly are, but there's definitely some luck in turnovers, as we've seen, with Tart dropping an interception and other people making plays or not making plays. So +5. To me, they have to win the turnover battle to win the game. Whereas I think the Rams can win the game if they're dead even.
That's a great point. That defense is really a game changer. Some nice chat comments. Joe says, PropStarz always gives it to me straight. My man Carlos says, thank you, guys. I couldn't have done it without your expertise. We've been here all year, and we're going to be here for the next damn 30 years right here on this show, all 5 of us every Tuesday at 5 Eastern time. Now, Mikey, let me come to you because it's very, very interesting when you start comparing the quarterbacks in this game. And Maestro just said it. He feels like Matthew Stafford and the Rams don't have to do as much as perhaps Joe Burrow and the Bengals do. Which quarterback do you think has to have a bigger game in order for their football team to win?
I think it's Joe Burrow. Burrow's got to have the bigger game, in my opinion, just because he doesn't have that defense that he can fall back on.
Yeah, you're dropping out again, Mike. I can't hear you again. I apologize. Damn it. Let me bring that same question, Alex, to you. And if you could kind of talk about it in the form of the way their props have gone. And when I say big, I mean like over 300, because we're going to be looking at attempts, completion, and yardage, certainly.
Yeah, I believe Joe Burrow needs to have a bigger game in order for the Bengals to win. I've been looking at a lot of Burrow's passing props. For instance, his completions are at 24.5. His attempts are at 36.5. I think both of these numbers are going to come up as we get closer and closer. They're going to steam up over the course of the next 10 days or so. I anticipate the Bengals also having to throw a lot more on first down as well. We saw in the first half of that game versus Kansas City, they were rushing the ball a lot on first down. I was pondering that was strange to me. We've seen them kind of transition from a run-heavy offense early in the season. In the second half of the season, passing the ball a lot more on first down. I think that really worked for them. I think they need to get back to that. I also think they're going to find it tough sledding on the ground, running the ball with Joe Mixon against a very, very good, a very stout Rams front seven. So yeah, I think that Burrow is going to have to air the ball out a ton in order for Cincinnati to be competitive in this game, to win this game. I think there's value on both his completions prop and his attempts prop. I think you're going to see both of these numbers rise as we get closer and closer to the game.
Maestro.
Yeah, I just want to take issue with Alex. I agree with you. They should throw more on early downs, but they refuse to. I mean, in the playoffs, they are over 50% run on early downs. It seems like they want to set up 2nd and 9 and 3rd and 7. That seems to be the goal. And then Joe Burrow will save us on 3rd and long. I don't think that will. And McVay is kind of the same way. These guys are stubborn in those early down runs, when I know you and the rest of the analytical minds out there are saying, throw the ball on first down. You'll have a better chance.
Alex.
We did see that in the first half, but in the second half, they actually made the adjustment, and we saw how much success they had scoring the ball in the second half. They dominated that game for largely, in my opinion, especially offensively with Burrow. So I do believe that the data is there if they want to look at it. It's obviously very advantageous when they begin to air the ball out and become a lot more aggressive throwing the ball. So I would hope with 2 weeks to prepare, they recognize some of those trends in that data and place a strong emphasis on throwing the ball on first down. But it is frustrating to watch how they do seem content, at least in the first half of the game, to just pick up a ton of 2nd and 8s and 3rd and 7s.
Well, it's almost like they want to say we're going to play traditional football, and then they realize we've got an outstanding quarterback with incredible wideouts that nobody can guard, and let's go and do that. I don't know why you don't do that the entire game. Why do you have to wait? Throwing the football 80% of the time is okay when you have Joe Burrow, who completes 70% of his passes. RJ, let me come to you, because there's going to be a lot of people that like to look at team totals, and we have really been good at targeting team totals. But when you look at these two, the Rams are currently at 26.5 or 27.5, and the Bengals are around 22.5. Do you like either one? I think that these are pretty accurate, but I just don't know what the game script is going to be as far as offense is concerned. What do you like?
Yeah, I'd be looking to play the Bengals team total under, especially if you're getting it over the 21.5 number. I think it's going to be tough for them to score points against this offense. You guys talk about, maybe they should throw the ball early and often, and that should be their game plan. And I think they're just scared to, because of their offensive line. They don't want to put Burrow out there throwing 45, 50 times a game, knowing that he's going to get hit and just over and over and over. He's not going to make it to the end of the game to give you those heroics. So it's less, I think, of a game plan of we think we can have success running the ball, and more wish casting. Let's just hand it off, and hopefully we can get 4 yards. Hopefully we can get 5 yards, and then we'll get in these 3rd and shorts and second and mediums, and not have to put him at risk as much. But it's just not working. Teams don't really have to defend for it because the line is so bad. They just tackle the guy when they hand the ball off, and then try to play the pass otherwise and get after him on 3rd down. So they're going to need to make some adjustments there. I don't think they'll be able to come back if they get down this time. You have the names on the Chiefs defensive line. You have the Frank Clarks and the Chris Joneses, but they finished 28th in adjusted sack rate according to Football Outsiders in the regular season. So they weren't a particularly good team pass rushing in terms of getting sacks against that number, that metric that they follow. Well, the Rams, just like the Titans, are in the top 10. So the Rams aren't going to have that issue. They're going to be able to get after him if the line isn't holding up. So if those first down runs that I'm sure they're going to go out and try in the first half, and hoping that they can not put Burrow at risk, if those don't work, I think Bengals are going to have another first half like they had last week, scoring 3 points at halftime, very, very low score at halftime, trying to rally back. And so at that point, I just think 22.5 going under that, or whatever the number is going to be a pretty good play if you're holding that ticket.
All right, before we get to some specific props and players I want to talk about, let me try Mikey one more time, because he's such a valuable voice on this show. Are you working here, Mikey?
Should be working, just might be way lower quality.
That's okay. I can hear you. I will take it. Anything you've been listening to, I know you've been shaking your head a little bit. Just kind of lay it out, and then we will get into specific players.
Yeah, so as far as the team totals go, I do lean that way in terms of with RJ on the under on the Bengals. I would consider a first half under on it, just because I do think they are going to be stubborn. I would love to see them throw the ball more on first down like we all would. Another comment I wanted to make, I I know that we want to go play Joe Mixon's receiving over. We played it once earlier in the postseason and cashed it very easily on the second or third play of the game. I just want to caution that number that we played was 19.5, not 29.5. There is a huge, huge difference between those two numbers. And then you look at Samaje Perine. The reason why Samaje Perine plays is because he is a lot better in pass blocking than Joe Mixon is. That's why he's on the field so much, is because he's getting destroyed. They're getting destroyed. That's why he got more targets than Joe Mixon. I would expect that to continue. I don't know if we see crazy sets where with Uzama out, where they try and play both of them in some of the situations and run Mixon out wide. I think that is a viable strategy for them. And at that point, if we see that happen in the game, that's when I would look to go live bet it over. But I'm going to stay off of Mixon as much as that number looks enticing at 29.5, as much as he can break one big run, just because I think we see a pretty healthy dose of Samaje Perine in this game.
Well, and we saw he scored the first touchdown of the game for the Bengals last week with a nice little pass out of the backfield, and then he made guys miss. So that's a great, great point. All right, I want to get into some specific players, and I know Alex is chomping at the bit right now, but we are very lucky, all of us, to be working at a company like CBS that has Paramount Plus, Showtimes in the family, so much great content at both. Check it out.
Here we go.
I get up, and I'm jumping around, and the rump is in rough, it's so comfortable now. Let's fly.
Touchdown! Unbelievable! Incredible!
I think we both know there's more to it than that.
This is going to be a good thing for everybody.
Hello, Master Chief.
Here we go, yeah, come on.
Here we go.
Two things. I could see the early edge on Showtime as a nice little 30-minute show before a big Bellator match. Or did they have to, Mikey, the one touchdown they showed in that piece, it had to be a Chiefs touchdown? Did they have to do that to us?
Of course.
Of course they did. Of course they did. All right. Now, continue to hit that like button if you haven't in the chat and keep the conversation going. We certainly appreciate it. If you have a prop that you're looking at early, and remember, this is the most prop bet game of the entire year, and it's not close. So there's a lot more props than what you would normally have. But, Alex, I want to come to you first, and everybody's going to be getting in this conversation. When you look at props for the Super Bowl, how is that different, or how do you think the book set it up differently than the regular season or even a playoff game?
For starters, we get props very early. We've got nearly 2 weeks to analyze them, and you've got a bunch of props lines have already been released. I think within 12 hours of the game ending on Sunday evening, there were already quite a few Super Bowl props out. So that's one thing. Another thing is you have a very diverse landscape of props as well. You can bet on things as far as the national anthem is concerned to what color you think the Gatorade bath is going to be. So there is a wide array of very fun props as well. And yeah, just having a lot of time to kind of analyze things and look at various props, and just, yeah, there's just quite a few as well.
And as always, you help lead me right into my next question, because you have become the tease god here at the Early Edge. I want to know from all four of you, what is your favorite prop to bet every year at the Super Bowl? Because I love to say on this show, not every bet has to be serious. It doesn't have to be. So RJ, is there a fun prop or just any prop that you like to bet every year because it's you?
No, I mean, I like to go for some of the long shot type of things, and I have a couple things that I like here, plus 390s, plus 400s type of things that I could see happening, that I think have, like, if the market thinks they're 20% chance happening, I'm like, well, I think it's 30, so I'm just going to throw them out there, and I'm going to hit some of these some of the time, and when they do, I look like a genius for calling it, and everybody will forget the ones that I miss, because that was just a long shot play. Who cares anyway? But I like those. I like when they come out with, like, the jersey numbers, like what's the over under of the jersey number of who scores the first touchdown or whatever, and then you have to be like, okay, well, on this side I got this guy, and this guy, and then this side I got this guy, so I got to, like, run all the numbers and be like, okay, percentages here, all right, they're giving me 115 on each side, minus 115 on each side, but I think it's a 56% chance on this side, so I'm gonna play that side, and it's completely ridiculous because who knows at that point, but you feel like you got the inside angle on those type of things for a game that those type of bets never come out in any other game, so it's fun getting to dig into those.
Yeah, Mikey, talk to me.
Yeah, I've got a real nice plan of attack for every Super Bowl. So the most fun you can have is to bet the over/under on the national anthem, and if you win, double that up on the coin toss. Win that, double it up on something in the game, maybe like a first quarter under, and really just see how crazy you can get with it. But my only analysis here is going to be national anthem over. I like the over on the national anthem when we're talking dome games because the atmosphere is comfortable. You're not outside where there's wind. It's not cold. It's not hot. You're hopefully not sweating. I'm more comfortable with those situations. So I like the over on the national anthem length. Don't even know how long it is. Don't care. We're taking the over.
Great story the year that Carrie Underwood sang it. She was at a party the night before, and all these people were asking her how long she thought it would take her to sing the national anthem. And she couldn't figure out. She had no idea because she's not a gambler. Why everybody at the party was asking her that question. Then she realized the next day why everybody. I thought that was kind of funny. So you can manipulate. It's usually around 156, 157 is the number for the national anthem. Maestro, you seem like a fun prop guy. What's your prop every year?
You know, I was just trying to look it up, and I believe I hit it last year, but I have to go back. It's some crazy trend that the team to score last wins the game. I got to find that number. But come back to me. I'm gonna look that up.
All right, Alex, talk to me.
I personally love Mike's analysis regarding the national anthem prop. I get a huge kick out of that as well. I do think the dome will play a factor. I love people like going and looking at whoever the singer is going to be, like how long they can hold a note for, or how long they're able to, stretch out their vocals in a certain appearance. And I just, get a huge kick out of all the kind of fun analysis that goes into the national anthem prop. So I do bet that every year as well. Usually always the over as well as Mike.
It's no fun to bet the under, and you guys know Coach hates unders. By the way, we should run like several prop bets on Sunday, like how Alex is going to wear his hair that particular day. What shirt is Sia going to wear? A lot of fun stuff with the crew. All right, let's get into certain players. And again, if you're just joining us, welcome as we are crossing the bottom of the hour live at 5:30 Eastern time. You're watching Early Edge Live with the best cappers in all of America, and we have the most fun. Now, a guy, RJ, that it seems like every single game, his numbers come out and you say, that catch prop, he can't get that. Oh, the yardage prop, he can't get there. It's over 100 yards every week. And for some reason, I am now just putting my hands up and saying maybe Cooper Kupp is unguardable because he on Sunday went for 11 catches, 142, 2 scores, and of course that big one down the middle that set up the game-winning field goal. Can they make the number too high for Cooper Kupp in the Super Bowl?
They could. I mean, put out 150, and I'm not betting the over there.
I guess so. Yeah,
but he's hit over 100 13 times in 20 games. So I mean, if you're hovering over 100, you just do the math there. 65% of the time, just in regular competition, you figure that'll happen. And we had concerns about Stafford in the middle of the season. He looked like he might be injured. That doesn't really look like the case now. So I kind of take away a few of those mid-season performances, and maybe that those two are connecting even better at this point. And it's in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl, you get the ball to your star players, your playmakers, the guys that you have the most confidence in. You're not drawing up the plays to let's get our third receiver more involved in this time and he randomly catches 7 times. You want to get it in Cooper Kupp. You live or die by Cooper Kupp, if you're the Rams. So he's going to get a ton of targets. We know that. I like a prop involving him. I'm sure everybody else has a prop that they like. They're looking at overs. Play him now if you like his overs because everybody's going to want to be on him and those numbers are just going to go up.
Maestro.
Yeah, I'm on Cooper Kupp over. I got it at 102.5. I'm seeing it higher at other books. I mean, you just look at this guy. 142, 183 last 2 games. I'm going to throw out the Cardinals game. They did not have to throw the ball at all. You go back 118, 95, 109, 136, 123, 129. So basically all but one game, he's crushed it. And you look at how the Bengals defend. They are terrible on the short throws over the middle of the field, short throws over the middle of the field, dead last in success rate allowed. Cooper Kupp, I mean, that's where he excels. We've seen him take those slants over the middle. He is one of the league leaders in terms of targets over the middle of the field, both short and deep. It's just a great matchup, and we know he's going to get fed. I love it at 102.5.
Oh, you said fed. You said fed, which is one of Alex's, and then I'm coming to you, Mikey, one of his favorite things to say on the show, mouths to feed. Now, there is one guy, and if you want to talk about Cooper Kupp, you can in answering this question. But there's a guy that you were on before the playoffs started, Alex, and I remember you just kept telling us, and I wouldn't bet him at first because I didn't think that when he got traded that they were going to use him a lot. And you kept saying, it's OBJ, it's OBJ. Mikey would back you up, OBJ. And he comes out on Sunday, and he goes 9 for 113, 2 scores. If they didn't have OBJ, they may not have won that particular game. Or not 2 scores, but 9 for 113. Kupp had the 2 scores. So when you look at OBJ, how do you think he's going to stack up in the Super Bowl as the number 2 to Cooper Kupp?
I love me some OBJ. As you mentioned, I've been kind of riding him all postseason long. I do want to also point out that I did predict he was going to have a triple-digit receiving game last week versus San Francisco. So nice tip of my hat to myself on that one. But yeah, I've just been super encouraged by OBJ, especially in the diversity of the routes he's running. So earlier in the season when he was first traded to Los Angeles, a lot of those routes were just kind of deep down the field. We saw him and Stafford just having trouble getting on the same page, connecting. Since the playoffs have begun, they've just made a much greater concerted effort to get him the ball a variety of places. You're still seeing those deep targets, which they finally did connect on a few last week, which is why I thought he would go over 100 receiving yards. But you're also seeing intermediate side. You're seeing him go over the middle of the field. You're also seeing him getting the ball near the line of scrimmage. I believe the first offensive play for the Rams of the game was a just throw right at the line of scrimmage to Odell Beckham that he took for like a handful of yards. So yeah, I'm just very encouraged by the utilization of Beckham. I think he's playing very well. All the reports about him are glowing. I talk about this a lot too. He doesn't need an uptick in targets in order for him to go over where his receiving prop is usually set at, which is between 50 and it's up to 64.5, where I still think it has some value this week. But previously it had been set around 50 yards every week, and getting 5 to 7 targets, which is his weekly floor. He doesn't need an uptick in targets to go over that. That is way closer to his floor than his ceiling. And when you're looking at some of these very valuable targets that he's getting down the field, he just presents massive upside, which is why, again, I'm probably going to look at some of his alt lines, look at playing him over 80, 90, even 100 yards in this game. So, yeah, I love OBJ again in the Super Bowl.
I love it. By the way, you're making the chat laugh. My man Elliot says, tip of the hat to himself. That is probably going to be the line of the day. Much respect. Tip of my cap to you. Mikey, let me come to you. OBJ. Are you bullish also on him? Because it looks like Sean McVay is all in, over $2 million so far in playoff incentive bonuses. He could get another $1 million if they win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, he structured the contract that way for a reason. Definitely looks motivated out there. I love him. The number, it has come up a lot. It's opened up a lot higher than it has in previous weeks. I still like it, though. I would grab it now if you want to play it. You can get it at 62.5 still on FanDuel. I expect this one to close 68 to 70 by the time this game actually starts, especially as we get more word on Tyler Higbee, whether he's actually going to play, not going to play, how limited he's going to be. We're going to see that number really start to rise, but I do like him. I like the way that he's being utilized. And I think that he is a great option for them in really any game script, because the game script where they are ahead and in control, that's when they're going to take the deep shot down the field to him. And that's when he's going to break one loose. And then obviously any game script where it's neutral or trailing, if Higbee's not out there and Kupp gets to be doubled often, it's going to be a lot of Odell Beckham Jr. Stafford loves him. Stafford trusts him a lot more than he trusts Van Jefferson now. It's been really interesting to see the kind of not really the role flip. I mean, it made sense because he joined so late, but I didn't expect it initially from day one to be so lopsided and so much work for OBJ. But yeah, these numbers, I think it should be closer to 70 personally.
Did you have something, Alex, there? Or were you just...
I just agreeing with everything Mike said.
Okay, got it. Great. All right, if you're watching Early Edge Live, we're about 36 minutes. Have a great discussion. Here's our early mega preview at the Early Edge, powered as always by SportsLine. Let me, RJ, come back to you, because if you were to ask somebody on Monday, who was the third most popular receiver for Matthew Stafford on Sunday, they would probably have to stop and think for a second. But when Higbee went out, Blanton stepped in and had a humongous day for them. 5 catches, 57 yards. Do you think they will have confidence in him in the Super Bowl? Because there's a good chance that his numbers could be very, very low, and maybe we could get a steal here.
Well, I think what happens is when you think that you're going to have Higbee the whole game, you develop your game plan around being able to go to him, and so it's hard to switch that on the fly. So it's not surprising they would keep that in and keep what they have installed. Now, if it looks like Higbee's not going to play in this one, they have time to prepare for that and say we're going to not game plan as much to go to the tight end, isolate the tight end on some of these routes. So maybe he's not as much of a factor. He did play well, but they're not going to just treat him like the number one guy and just pretend like things are going to move on. So I don't know that he's going to get as many targets, as be as much of the game plan as he was having to step up for the number one guy that got hurt unexpectedly, and then than having to alter what you wanted to do against the defense so well on the 49ers. How you want to attack them. It's really hard to go away from that. So we'll see if the matchups are there. I know the Bengals are terrible defending tight ends. Maybe they do want to feature him there, but I think anytime you're going to him and you're not going to those top two receivers, you're kind of like throwing yourself on the 8 ball there.
Alex.
I think that's a great point made by RJ as far as, the game plan probably called for a lot of Higbee going into the game. Furthermore, I believe he was the only healthy active tight end on the roster after Higbee went down. So I think just as a matter of circumstance, he was just, running a ton of routes and on the field a ton. I'd imagine if Higbee's ruled out in this game, they're going to have additional depth that they'll probably utilize as well. So, it wouldn't shock me at all to see if Higbee is ultimately ruled out, other tight ends mixing in as well with Blanton.
All right, very good. Jason, chat question. I'll go to you, Mikey. Sorry, did you guys talk about Odell? We did, but we didn't talk specifically about his catch prop, which is at 5.5 plus money currently. Your thoughts, Mikey?
Yeah, I prefer the yardage just because of the upside that he possesses when he touches the football. It's okay to lean here at plus money still. I certainly wouldn't play over 5.5 at even money or minus 105, minus 115, where it's destined to be by game time. But so if you like it and lean that way, I would play it now, but I really do prefer the yardage on Odell Beckham.
Okay, very good. Maestro, let me come to you because it's very, very dicey when you get to the Super Bowl and it's all about winning. And numbers really don't matter to the players. They matter to us, but not to the players. The quarterback number, 284.5 for Matthew Stafford. Joe Burrow, 276.5. Now, Burrow only threw for 250 on Sunday against Kansas City, but Stafford went over 300. So he cashed his. Burrow did not cash his. And unfortunately, we were on the attempts prop, 38.5, and he threw it 38 times. What do you make of these yardage props for this game?
I do want to look at that attempt prop that you mentioned, 38.5, and he only got to 38 against the Chiefs. I think this game, as much as we don't want to say it or don't want to see it, is going to be a more of a running game. The clock is going to move. I think the Rams are determined to run the ball. The Bengals are going to try to run the ball. So I'm leery of him getting, is it 38.5 again?
It's 36.5.
Oh, 36.5.
This week. It was 38.5 last week.
Okay.
Yes.
And he stayed under at 38. I'm still going to lean under at 36.5. I think I've seen a little bit higher elsewhere. So that's interesting that it's come down. Stafford number seems just a bit low to me with the explosiveness of that passing game, with the big plays to Kupp and Beckham. That number seems just a little bit low.
Yeah, I'm looking right now on one of my books to see if maybe it's a little bit different. And it's crazy. There's so many props that you have to scroll through just to get to find the one that it's so different for the Super Bowl. And yeah, I'm looking at it right now. They've got some alternate lines at 38 and 41 as far as, so there's a lot of different ways you could play it if you decided to do that.
There is one I did want to throw out. I don't know if we've touched on Tyler Boyd, but I think,
we haven't got to the Bengals yet. We haven't got to the Bengals yet. Let me get there. Let me get there. We're talking Rams right now. We're talking Rams. All right, real quick. I need the quarterback interception whisperer to show his face right here, right now. Even though I don't like that face. Look at that big old smile coming in, AB, on the ones and twos. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up? You guys doing all right? Great show so far.
We're good. And I can see you're busy in the chat. I hate to take you away from your producing duties. However, there is only one man that can accurately describe what the game script should be like, And you've been hitting these interception props at an alarmingly positive rate. What are your thoughts on Stafford and Burrow and that play?
Yep. So if you look, both quarterbacks have played 3 games in the playoffs each. Burrow has 2 interceptions. Stafford has 1 interception. A nugget to take home with you. All right, a little pre-dinner nugget here for you. The Cincinnati Bengals defense, it has ended every single game in this postseason, all 3 with an interception on the Raiders, on the Titans, on the Chiefs. Their last defensive play of all 3 games has been an interception. So if you look at the books right now, Stafford over half an interception is at -130. Burrow at -125. This is a long game. Remember, you've got about 1.5 times the commercials. It's a slow game. It's a long game. Yeah, take an interception on both.
Wow. All right. A little early lean from Dial Up. Live from Nashville, Tennessee, 8-4 is below. Thank you, Dial Up. You can get out of here now. All right, big man. He might be our MVP. That dude he's a 5-tool player right there. AB is. All right, now, Maestro, we will go over to Alex.
While we're on the topic of Rams props, I did want to bring up Cam Akers really quickly.
Sure.
I'm actually interested in Cam Akers this week. I do think just as a result of some of his ineffectiveness, some of the fumbling issues that we saw over the last couple of weeks, I know Larry and I believe Sia were on his rushing under. Very sharp. I liked it as well last week. I actually am going to be looking over potentially with Cam Akers this week. However, I do think the matchup is great on paper versus Cincinnati. They really, really struggle defending the run. Furthermore, I think this extra week off will actually help Cam Akers quite a bit. I am interested in Cam Akers props. I'm probably going to be making a play on his rushing over. Just wanted to throw that out there really quickly.
All right. Very, very good. Cam Akers last week, 13 for 48. Sony Michel did get 10 for 16. Okay. There we go.
Akers had all of that at halftime, basically. He was pacing for a huge game and then nothing after halftime.
Yeah, he did nothing. I mean, it was like 1 yard in a cloud of AstroTurf last Sunday. It's crazy. They're going to be playing in the same stadium that they play in every single week. By the way, RJ already talked about it. I went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and I got my tickets at face value through the 49ers. The numbers for this game are obscene, and it should be embarrassed that I saw somebody spent $92,000 for tickets on the 45-yard line today. That's insanity. It's absolute insanity. All right, let's switch our focus to the other side of the football. And out of respect for the man who wanted to talk about the Bengals, I'm going to come to the Maestro first. What would you like to say about Tyler Boyd, sir?
Well, I'm really curious to hear where Alex is going to go on these Bengals receivers. I know last week he was all over T. Higgins because of the focus on Chase from the 266-yard game, and then Higgins goes off. I think it's Tyler Boyd, not to go off or anything, but to look over his props because, the Rams have a huge pass rush, so you're going to be getting the ball out quick. The Rams also play zone, one of the top zone coverage teams in the league. Boyd is the best. He's the only receiver on that trio who's better against zone than man. The other guys are better against man. So I just think his numbers are low. I think this is a game where he's going to get peppered with those quick targets. Again, if there's no Uzama, that's a big deal for short-range targets. So, Tyler Boyd.
By the way, I did not know that your best friend watches the show live and also writes messages in the chat. More props from the Maestro. Let's go. From Elliot. How much you paying Elliot?
I love that guy.
He's very active. That's no doubt about it. I love it. I do come up with the best nicknames. I really do. The one hole that I have is that I've worked with RJ for over a year now, and I have not come up with a nickname out of respect because I don't feel like RJ is a nickname guy. RJ, if you give me the runway to do it, I would love to try and come up with one for you.
I'm surprised you're asking me for permission. I don't think you've ever asked anybody for permission for anything. So you do what you do, and I'll deal with it.
He says, you do what you do. I'll take that as permission. Thank you. And I'll take that as a respectful saying, too. No, I've never asked anybody. All right, let's get into the Bengals side. And, Alex, we got to come to you because Maestro just said last week to remind the people live on the show, you said, hey, Coach, real quick. and you said, I believe that the leading receiver for the Bengals today will not be Jamar Chase. It will be T. Higgins. So for those people who missed the show, T. Higgins, 6 catches, 103 yards. It was amazing to watch catch after catch after catch, and you nailed it perfectly. What are your thoughts this week about what Maestro just said?
Yeah, it's a really interesting conversation regarding T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. They seem to take turns on who is going to have the bigger game. We haven't seen many games. I can only think of 1 or 2 off the top of my head where both these guys had huge receiving days. I think Baltimore is the only game where they both went for over 100 yards in the same game, talking about T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So, yeah, there is really no proven method at least to kind of handicap which one of these guys is going to blow up. I did just feel that in the previous matchup, because of the fact that Jamar Chase went just thermonuclear versus Kansas City, that he would be the emphasis of the defensive game plan. I think one thing that does get lost in this conversation is just how good T. Higgins is. Obviously, Jamar Chase having one of the greatest rookie seasons of a wide receiver ever. Just absolutely phenomenal, dynamic player. But for how good Jamar Chase is, T. Higgins is not far behind whatsoever. This guy's a second-year wide receiver, just absolutely dynamic and explosive as well. Very big target. He's tremendous as well. So I kind of try to look towards where the better value is, in my opinion. Both of them are close as far as their receiving totals are concerned. I did, however, really like, I know this is somewhat off topic, but what Larry was saying regarding Boyd, I think he was spot on in that analysis. I do anticipate Boyd being heavily involved, especially if there is no CJ Uzomah. He will soak up a ton of targets in the middle of the field. But just to answer your question regarding Chase and Higgins, I think it's tough picking which one is going to have the better day, just because they are both equally dynamic and should be heavily involved. So that just means I'm probably going to stay away most likely.
Okay, let's go Maestro, and then Mikey, piggyback what we've been talking about, please.
Well, I mean, the other thing working against Chase is Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that. Yeah. I just wanted to point that out and see if he's going to get, focused on Chase.
Great tweet today. I'll get a great tweet today from Jalen Ramsey. He goes, "Oh, the GOAT retired, and his last touchdown pass was against me." Pretty cool, and that's true. They tied it at 27. Mikey, your thoughts on these Bengals wide receivers that we've been talking about?
Yeah, so first of all, I do like Tyler Boyd quite a bit, especially if we know Uzomah's out. I think that they're going to have to either go that direction a little bit or get the running backs involved. I think it'll be a little more of Tyler Boyd. Jalen Ramsey's obviously going to be on Jamar Chase. They're probably going to double or at least give some additional help in certain spots as well. So I'm not playing anything related to Jamar Chase yet at this point. The one thing that I want to mention in this game, though, we talked about the referees in both of the games last week. Again, it's not the original crew that they work with all year, but didn't seem to matter in that last game. So this game, Ron Tolbert will be the head official for the Super Bowl. His most recent impactful game was the first game of Kansas City, Cincinnati, where Cincinnati had some pretty beneficial calls late in that game. Furthermore, he has 7 games this season with 100+ penalty yards and multiple games over 140 penalty yards called. Just look for that when you've got guys like Ramsey who are still very aggressive defensively against some of these receivers, against a team that's going to throw a ton in the Cincinnati Bengals. We could see a lot more penalty yardage, which again takes away from receiving yardage in some situations. So just something to keep in mind when you're betting some of these props. I'm staying off of Chase for now. If I had to bet any of them, it would be Tyler Boyd. I would grab it as quick as you can, just because we know every week for the most part you see it, but you're really going to see it now with the props being out so early. The majority of these are going to go up by at least 3 yards, just the way that things get shaded between now and then. There's a pretty big difference in a number like Boyd's at 37.5 versus where I think it could close at, say, 42.5. That doesn't sound like a huge difference, but it really is a big difference for a player with a role like that.
All right, hold up, Alex, real quick. AB, before I forget, I want you to make a list of all the numbers today, and then next week when we do our next mega preview. I want to see where the numbers have changed. Mikey just sparked a really cool idea in my head. So I want to make sure we have all those numbers listed today. Alex, I'm going to come to you, and then RJ, I have a question for you. Go ahead, Alex.
I completely agree with everything Mikey said. I think all these numbers, looking at both sides of the ball, are going to get steamed up completely. That happens historically every single year, especially when you have a full 2 weeks. The public loves to bet overs, especially on star players. So you're just going to see all these props get steamed up, in my opinion. So if you do like them, I would look to get in, get a position early. As far as Boyd is concerned, I could see him moving up close to 50 receiving yards if CJ Uzomah were to get ruled out earlier than later. Like say he was ruled out in the next few days for this game. I could see Boyd jumping close to 50 yards. So I would absolutely get a position in him early as well, because I do believe that the current number is reflective of if Uzomah was going to play.
Okay. Very, very good. RJ, let me come to you. Is there going to be a prop on how many funny ref tweets we get from you during the Super Bowl?
I hope not, because I'll get claims of collusion when I'm getting close to that number, and I live bet it so I can go over, and then they start firing out. They're like, I didn't see anybody offsides in that play. What is he tweeting about? And I'm just like, I got to get to that over. So I don't think it's going to happen.
Real quick, because we normally don't do defensive props very much, but with Aaron Donald on one side, and we saw the Bengals get after Patrick Mahomes, especially in the second half, the number is over 4.5 total sacks in the game. Is that something you'd be interested in keeping an eye on? RJ.
Yeah, I like going over. I mean, he had 9 sacks in that Titans game, this is just as good of a defensive line, if not better. That offensive line, it's no reinforcements coming for that offensive line. So we saw that he could have had a lot more sacks in that Chiefs game. He was able to magically escape pressure. He became very Eli Manning-esque in his ability to spin out of dangerous situations that you're like, oh my God, there's no way this ends well. And then all of a sudden, he's throwing helmet catches to people. So that luck runs out. I think every once in at times. So you can't just count on that happening over and over. So I do think we see a decent amount of sacks in that game, particularly from the Rams side. I mean, they might hit that number by themselves.
All right. Now,
I'm sorry to interrupt, Coach. I got to hop off for HQ, but I enjoyed it, and I know we're going to be talking a ton, getting even deeper into this game.
He is the maestro. I can't believe we've gone almost an hour. I haven't even looked at the clock. I've just been talking. This is amazing. All right. See you, maestro. Boy, he is ROG. Now, last week, something happened that I don't think happened the entire year. We got our bets in. All of a sudden, I look under Alex's name. McPherson, 6.5 points. Wasn't that you last week, Alex? Wasn't that you? Oh, your first at least here on the show, your first kicker prop and he sailed over 6.5. What are your thoughts this week with having McPherson such a weapon for the Bengals?
Yeah, I do think he could come into play, make another big impact. I haven't seen what the number is. Yeah, do we know the number, Mike?
It's way up, 7.5, and it's minus 145 on the juice.
Wow. Thank you, Mikey. Wow.
Yeah, so that does to me tell me that it's a much more efficient number this week. Tough to play it when it's that juiced as well. You kind of are banking on him hitting 2 field goals, I think, at that 7.5 number as well. It would take quite a few touchdowns and extra points to go over. So, yeah, I am afraid that I am not going to be playing a McPherson kick prop this week.
Never say never. We still have 12 days. AB, show your face. Now, the number for field goal props, which you look at that big old goofy smile, 3.5 plus 117 for field goals made in the game. Give me some nugget, my friend.
Yeah, so take a look. Obviously, you see what the Bengals have been doing, and Sean McVay, understand this, okay? The last time that he was in the Super Bowl, when they played the Patriots, here's a nugget for you. They never crossed the 27-yard line of the Patriots. Not once. That's as far as they got in the entire game. So, yeah, you're going to get kicking points out of both teams. I assure you on that.
I feel when I was at ESPN, I work with Tom Rinaldi, who I think is the best storyteller in all of America. We used to make jokes that he would wake up in the middle of the night, like at 3 a.m. and just go, It was a beautiful summer day. And the stuff would just come to him. That's what I feel like with you when it comes to some of this stuff. Where do you come up with some of these things? I just don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, kids, support your local libraries. Read or have somebody smarter than you, like M Squared, come down to the janitor's closet, read to you. That's how you do it.
Well, all respect to you because I kid you a lot, but I'm glad you're on our team. Damn it, I know that. I'm glad we're on our team. Now get out of here. Get your face. Get out of here. Get out of here. RJ, we have a suggestion in the chat. I don't know if I like it, but I like where they're going with it. How do you feel about the silent assassin?
Yeah, aren't most assassins silent? I mean, it seems like you're doubling up on those names there. You're be like the funny comedian. Like, oh, okay.
I guess
I don't think you need both those words.
So you want either silent or assassin? One or the other. That's hilarious. You're too much, man. I tell people all the time, they say, who's the funniest cat you get to work with? I said, you won't even believe it. I said, low key, it's RJ White. It really is. All right, I'll keep working on it. But we have a couple more to get to, then we got to get out of here because we're going to do so many more shows next week. And this was just supposed to be a preview, but the discussion was so good that it just went a little longer than we anticipated. So it's time to do our best bets, and then we will get the hell out of Dodge. And again, follow us at SportsLine or any of our social media handles, and we will tweet out the schedule as soon as we get it. RJ, let me start with you. What bet do you have early on here?
So I have two bets and then two little sprinkles. The two bets you see here are Rams -4. Got on that Monday, felt like it probably was going to move. Cincinnati's defense has been awesome, particularly the second half. They struggled on first downs in the red zone in regular season. You do that against the Rams, they're going to score a ton of points. I'm not sure the Cincinnati offense is going to be able to keep up against this Rams pass rush. That's more of a mismatch for the Cincy O-line than Kansas City was. So Kansas City was able to largely contain Chase last week. I think Ramsey's going to have more success in that matchup. There is a formula for Cincy to win. I'm not saying Cincy doesn't have a chance. The D has to play stellar again like they did in that second half last week. Burrow makes a few big plays. He's shown completely capable of that. McPherson hits the dagger field goal, and he's been able to do that. So the formula is there, but it seems more likely to me the Rams are able to build an early lead like Kansas City did, and the pass rush doesn't let Burrow back in the game. So that's why I like the Rams -4. I like Cooper Kupp, longest reception over 27.5 yards. He has 23 of those receptions all season, including 5 in the last 5 games. But the key is that since he gave up 5 passes of 30-plus yards in the last 2 games, they gave up 3 to A.J. Brown in that Titans game, and then they gave up 1 each to Hardman and Tyreek Hill last week. So it seems like he's the best player. He's the guy that's going to get the ball so much. He's so effective on those deep routes too. But I have to figure he's going to get a 30-yarder here. So I feel like that's going to go up. Wanted to jump on that now. In terms of other props, I'm typically going to wait, let people bet them up, and then look to take them under, knowing that there's going to be a little bit more value on there. So those are the only 2 for now. But the things I would sprinkle on, first scoring play of the game, is heavily weighted toward touchdowns. The touchdowns on either side are like +160, +190. Then you get to the Rams field goal at +370, Bengals field goal at +390. Field goal has preceded a touchdown in the last 4 Super Bowls. And McVay's willing to be conservative on 4th down, especially against the Cincy defense. That is 2nd and 4th down stop percentage. He loves kicking field goals, loves kicking short field goals. I think he'll be all in to do that. Cincy, of course, has full trust in their kicker. I mean, they might get to midfield and try field goals in this game if you want to go that way. So I think there's much more value playing field goals in that prop than touchdowns. I would lean to the Rams field goal +370, but if you want to play them both and get Bengals +390 in there and just split your bet, I think there's going to be a field goal before a touchdown in this game. And then the other one, interesting one, is the quarter of the first touchdown. You can pick 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Obviously, 1st is going to be a heavy favorite. You figure there's going to be a touchdown there. The first touchdown came in the last minute of the first quarter the last 2 years, and it came in the 4th quarter the year before, that Rams-Patriots game that AB just cited. So I think it's likely going to be less risk taken earlier in the game. It's a long pregame. We know it takes so long to ramp up. It takes long for these offenses to get going. A little bit tight. So I think playing the second quarter at +270 gives you a little more value than it should. I think that the way that this has been trending the last few years with the way the beginning of these games takes such a long time, even with these good offenses, takes such a long time to evolve and get going, that you can have value, and this prop's going to hit at some point. I think this might be the year.
Golly, so much good information. I told you guys at the start of the show, he is the NFL for us at SportsLine. I got 2 things for you, RJ, before I move on. We see that the Maestro is on Cooper Kupp over 102.5. 2 things. How high do you think this will get? And B, do you like the receiving number more or less than the over 8.5 catches for him, which is where it's at right now?
I would like to. I'd probably play the over on the receptions over the receiving yards. If you want to play it right now, take the receiving yards. But it's going to get up, I think, near 110. I don't think it's going to get any higher than that. But it wouldn't be. I think they'll go past 105 at some point because people are just going to look at his numbers all season, see that he gets 100 yards more often than not, and figure that I have a better than a coin flip chance of him hitting this. So I'm just going to take the over, and it's going to keep going up. So I think we're getting to the 108, 109 range probably. And at that point, I'm not touching it. So if you like his over on receiving yards, play it now. I think the receptions, I just think that they're just going to go to him early and often. Even if the Rams get up in this game, they're not going to want to just run the clock. I mean, they're going to try to run the clock out a little bit, but you can't just play it safe and play prevent defense in the Super Bowl. You got to make sure you get the win. And, short passes to Cooper Kupp are like runs anyway. So, I mean, he's still going to get his targets, I think. So I'd expect double-digit targets from him. He's going to get to that 9 catches, I think.
Yeah, 11 for 142. For those of you out there that may be new or may think that this is the highest number we've seen all year, 8.5 is the highest we've seen, but this dude just goes over it. He just goes over it. Real quickly, one other thing I forgot. Please educate our audience at home on all, very quickly, the NFL stuff that you guys are preparing for the Super Bowl at SportsLine.
Yes, we have 3 featured expert picks posts are going to go up. People will be entering their picks all throughout the game. We have Larry obviously doing great on the NFL this season, our number 1 expert. Brett Anderson, one of our CBS NFL editors, is having a great year. Makes very limited picks, but when he makes them, he's hitting 70% of the time plus on his picks this year. So he's put together a great record to be our second hottest expert at this point. He's going to give us a featured pick, and then my featured pick's already up. I already shared it with you guys here. You're also getting props from both the model and the experts. Alex, Mike are both contributing to that. I have some stuff there. A lot of our other great experts are going to be on that. And then we'll be doing some player prop, some individual player prop posts, breaking those down for people as well. I'll probably put something together on the anthem, some fun stuff for the anthem. Mike Tierney comes through with Super Bowl squares a lot of the time. And then we have this Super Bowl props guide that I put together every year. It's all the model data kind of put into one place. Nice little glossy PDF for you to read. All you got to do to visit that is once that goes up, probably Monday, visit cbssports.com/NFL. You'll see it on the arena somewhere. You'll be able to click through, sign up for it. It'll get sent to your email. You'll be able to read all about all these props, see all my analysis on all these crazy first quarter, third quarter, jersey number, all those kind of crazy things I can find. I'll put that all in there for you guys.
What else could you all want? I mean, what else could you all want? I am a little bit offended, RJ. I guess maybe I missed the email where you asked for my pick for the Super Bowl. I am over 58% this year in the NFL. I'm just saying. But if you don't want me to make it
No, on that note, you're going to be on HQ all week next week. You're going to be giving out picks left and right. People are going to be tuned in and seeing all these picks. I'm sure they'd rather listen to you tell them than read about them because you're such an entertaining performer anyway. People are going to want to get those picks on HQ all next week.
That's very nice of you to say. We all know that you guys are where it's at. I'm just trying to navigate, but damn it, I love working with you guys so very much. All right. They've sat there very quietly for the last several minutes. Normally, they don't have to sit there that long, and I apologize. We had to get all that information in. Now, I'm coming to my guys. Mikey, talk to me.
All right. First play of the Super Bowl for me is going to be a little bit of a same game parlay. I placed this over on FanDuel. Bengals plus 14.5, Rams money line over 35.5 total points in the game. All of these things are very highly correlated for me here. Plus 162, like to pay out quite a bit on this. So I have played a full unit on this same game parlay. Not much to say here other than I think the Bengals can keep it within 3 scores. And I think that the Rams will ultimately win the game. And in the process, gets us home with the 35.5, as I do think that we could see a tighter defensive battle. We're still getting home with a 20-17 victory that we see so often in these formats. So I like this play quite a bit.
I have one request from you, just one. I know we're going to have a supersized donkey for the game.
Oh, yeah.
I need 10-way donkey. Can you do that for me?
Oh, yeah. We're going to have multiple donkeys, Coach. We have so many shows throughout them. We might do a donkey a day kind of thing and have multiple donkeys out there.
Donkey a day? It keeps all the haters away. I love it. Let's go. All right. Now, it wasn't planned this way, but Alex, as you know, you are very, very important to us. You're one of my favorites. So important. But you know who the OG of the show is. You know who was here from day one, and his spot is always the last spot on the show. But he's gone, which means now you step in. There's pressure, but I know you can handle it. Give it to me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. And that guy hired me as well. So ultimate respect to the maestro, Mr. Hartstein. I do want to point out that I loved RJ, what he said regarding waiting for a lot of these waiting for a lot of these bets to basically steam up. You're going to see a lot of the really, prevalent players on both sides of the offenses on the Rams and the Bengals. You're going to see their numbers come up a lot over the course of the next 10 days. So, yeah, waiting, you can find a lot of value on the unders as we get close to kickoff. I think that is a very sound advice to give. And, yeah, speaking of unders, my first play is going to be Joe Mixon under 95.5 combined rushing and receiving yards. He has just been very ineffective as a running back. I believe he's been held under 4 yards per carry in 7 of the last 8 games. We have seen an uptick in his usage as a receiver, but over the last 2 weeks, he was running less routes each of those games than he was in the previous 3 or 4 games. So he's been highly efficient with those targets. But yeah, Samaje Perine is mixing in quite a bit as a receiver. Furthermore, this is a very, very difficult matchup for as good as the Rams are in coverage. They are very stout against the run. According to Football Outsiders, they rank 6th in rushing DVOA. Furthermore, they rank in the top 10 in yards allowed, both rushing and receiving yards for running backs as well. So they are very, very stingy. I do believe that someone asked this question earlier, if the Rams are getting after Joe Burrow, would that create additional opportunities for checkdowns for Joe Mixon? I actually don't think it will, for a number of reasons. One being that they can get home with their 4-down linemen. They're not going to need to bring additional pressure, in my opinion, coupled with the fact that they defend running backs really well out of the backfield. So I do think this is going to be a very tough matchup for Joe Mixon. It's going to take a very specific game script, likely with the Bengals winning, for him to go over this total, which I don't think they're going to do. So yeah, I really like fading Joe Mixon under 95.5 combined rushing and receiving yards.
I love how you tell us all the time that there's way more opportunities for a bet to go under than there is for a bet to go over. It's just like in golf. You have one bad day in golf, it may cost you a top 10 or even a win. Same thing in a prop. If you have one bad quarter, one slow half, then it's hard to get there. And we learned that from you and all my crew. All right. We have gone as long as we can go today, and I want to thank everybody for staying with us this long. We just had a lot to get through, and damn it was a lot of fun. But I like to end every single one of our live shows with my guys having 15 to 20 seconds to tell me what they're most looking forward to. And this time, it's in the Super Bowl. So, AB, if you don't mind, throwing up that best bet screen one more time and let people soak it in, get the screen grabs going, and RJ, start us off. What are you most looking forward to?
I'm just glad it's a Super Bowl with different people in it. I know you guys are Chiefs fans. You want to see them in every year, but we're getting some new blood in here. We're going to get either Matthew Stafford winning a Super Bowl or Joe Burrow winning Super Bowl in his first, 2 years. So it's interesting. This Bengals team, I mean, the coach in that one, Zach Taylor, his career winning percentage entering is .337. Because he had those 2 awful years before this year. That's the worst by a coach entering a Super Bowl appearance by more than 100 points. Bill Walsh had been the worst at .438 with that 81 49ers team. Now you got Zach Taylor having 2 completely horrendous years, comes in, now he's in a Super Bowl. So it's just those type of guys getting that experience, getting to enjoy this, seeing that future is bright for that team. The Rams are where they want to be. This is the team they built to get to this moment for this game. And so I just like being able to see these teams so it's not the same old Chiefs and Tom Brady and all these type of things. Give me this new blood.
I actually respect that take. By the way, how many franchises, RJ, do you think that he would have survived in after those 2 years? Bengals, Steelers, how many others?
I mean,
not many.
Not many. I know the Steelers don't want to pay, the Bengals don't want to pay coaches, to go away. So they probably give him a little bit more rope. But if he had another bad year this year, I mean, he probably would have been out at that point. So it's really fascinating to see a guy that if it's Kyle Shanahan and he struggles for his first year, or he struggles with the 49ers for a year, you're willing to believe he can turn it around. And he did. He was able to take that team from, I think, 4-12 to 12-4, get to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs that time. But when it's Zach Taylor and nobody, from Sean McVay's staff, questionable hire when it was made, it's like at some point you got to deliver, and he certainly has this year. So it's pretty impressive stuff from him.
By the way, speaking of dead money, in all of the Dan Quinn stories, people wonder why he stayed in Dallas. He's still getting paid by Atlanta. He's still getting paid by Atlanta, and he's in Dallas, and Jerry's the only guy that will pay assistant coaches, head coach type money to keep them in the house. Mikey, talk to me.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to a good game. Obviously, I want to see the Rams win. Bengals cover 14.5. I want to hit this play. But I'm interested in – I love the national anthem. I love sweating the over-under of the national anthem. It literally just sets the tone for the entire rest of the day. Good news is Mickey Guyton is performing the national anthem. She is a part of Capitol Records here in Nashville, Tennessee. AB and the boys, we're going to head down to Music Row, see what kind of intel we can gather up. And, that's what I'm looking forward to. I just have a lot of fun with the Super Bowl every year.
All right. Then I have one more favor to ask. Please, if you're going with AB and the boys and going down to get some intel, could you please take a camera with you and shoot a little bit of that, if you don't mind? I would love to see how that goes. I would love to see how that goes. All right. Oh, our first Super Bowl with our guy, Alex, PropStarz. What are you most looking forward to, pal?
I'm looking forward to the individual matchup between arguably the best defensive back in the NFL, Jalen Ramsey, and one of the most explosive rookie wide receivers we have ever seen, and Jamar Chase. I think that is going to be extremely high level from a fantasy nerd and obviously a prop guy. This is like a dream come true matchup on the biggest stage. Two of the best players at their position in their primes squaring off. Cannot wait to see Jalen Ramsey mano-a-mano with Jamar Chase.
Oh, man, two absolute elite athletes and absolute elite football players. I'm most looking forward to doing a live show on Sunday afternoon like we did last year. And, Mikey, I don't know if you remember this, but the most entertaining thing for me last year during the live show, prop show 2 hours before, was Will Brinson. He was in the number one spot on DraftKings for the Waste Management Phoenix Open, and he had $200,000 on the line, and all Scotty Scheffler had to do on the last hole was beat Xander Schauffele, and he would have won $200,000. And he had to watch it live while he was hosting the show until I came on. And watching him try to concentrate, could you? Any of you guys have concentrated with $200,000 on the line and trying to host a show at the same time?
I could not have, but I do the Pick Six podcast every Thursday at 1 p.m. live, and then we put it out as a podcast on Friday with Will Brinson. And so I'm used to him not concentrating when we're supposed to be talking to him on a show. So it was nothing new for me to see that.
And that's the perfect way to end this show. I love it. Now, we're going to be here all next week. And don't forget our normal Early Edge show every single day at 10 a.m. We will have an MMA-only episode Thursday. Our soccer boys, Buckets, and the guru, Martin W. Green, they're back together on Thursday as well. I love it all, and we're here for you. So now there's only one thing left to do, and you all know what that is. Elliot's always waiting for this. And just because it's a preview show, this is our staple. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Super Bowl tickets straight to the pay window. For my entire crew here all year, nobody better. Maestro, M Squared, RJ, PropStarz, AB on the ones and the twos, and the jeweler, putting it all together here at the brand. I am the coach. Make sure you follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're watching us right now. Don't miss a second of this content. Your favorite show? You want to be included? You want to be wanted? You want to feel valued? Right here at the Early Edge. Good luck.